Hello, Senior Stoner fans. It's the real Senior Stoner back at you for your Xvape Vista Mini 2 Diamond Dab of the Day. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to take a serious hit today. I've got a sore throat, and I don't want to make it get any worse. I've tested myself negative for the horrible thing, and we just got to keep toughing it out. Let's get started with today's topic. It's a woozer. It's a winner. I build this out of my own life, and I try to help people not make the same mistakes I do. The topic is verbal diarrhea. How do we stop it, and why do we experience it? Let's discuss. Got to get to the bottom of this, because sometimes you're in your own body, you don't even know what's happening. Verbal diarrhea is a constant. It's a continuous flow of talk that just never seems to cease. We've probably all had it, or at least been on the receiving end, the tuning out end before. Unfortunately, it's a go-to for me when I'm nervous, or when there are awkward silences when I'm with other people, that pregnant pause. And despite it often being way too personal, it seems the preferred option to the forced smiles and frequent time-checking alternative. That's right. You keep talking. But why is it at some point that the verbal runs just keep going further? How can we put a stop to them? Well, let's discuss. There are two reasons people experience verbal diarrhea for the most part. Number one is anxiety. People who have interpersonal anxiety, like me, may be frightened of silence, or at least uncomfortable with it. This can lead to verbal diarrhea. Sometimes it's also because a person would rather be asked nothing. Okay? So filling the silence seems the best option. Well, the other option is a person's very extroverted. People who are extroverted like that often don't have internal reflection. They don't process things internally, so the internal dialogue becomes external. So if you're talking to yourself, you're not. You're talking to people. So it appears like verbal diarrhea, but it's not about power and control for these people. In fact, it's about the opposite. Heightened levels of anxiety often have the most severe episodes of this. Other factors certainly can cause verbal dysentery, but you know what? People around others, when you're really comfortable, the diarrhea can stop because they're at ease. But it can work in the reverse too, particularly if they're excited to see the person. Then the nervous excitement takes over and you have verbal diarrhea. Some people, like I used to be, who were considered the life of the party or the leader of a social group, naturally fall into the talkative role. That was me. And unfortunately, for those prone to the condition, it can be a problem. If you're experiencing verbal diarrhea, you're not listening to other people. A good conversationalist will pass the conversation around. You see, some other side effects also come. You become possibly viewed by others as a turnoff. Somebody might not even want to be around. You get looked at as a poor listener. You don't look like you have any empathy. Obviously have poor communication skills. While it's possible to have an episode of verbal diarrhea, without it being a major issue, it can become a problem if it happens too frequently. And if you're not sure how much is too much, get help. Consider getting help. And you also can ask yourself a set of questions. You got to ask yourself, are you talking too much? Can you stop midstream in a conversation? If the answer is no, you got a problem. When you're talking, are people actively engaged? If their eyes are glazed over and there are no uh-huhs or verbal cues, their attention's more on the table versus you. Well, we can put a stop to even the most severe cases of verbal diarrhea. If you notice the glazed eyes or the other signs that your company's not engaged, stop. Time yourself talking. Any more than 3 to 4 minutes is too long. Check the other person's body language. If they're crossing their arms, moving away, fidgeting, start to slow it down and start to close. It can be a good thing as well if it's an awkward situation like a party or waiting for a meeting to start. Verbal diarrhea can make you and others around you relax in an uncomfortable situation. Just remember to share the space. It's important that if you have verbal diarrhea and you can't stop it, you share it. Everybody wants to be a part of the action in those situations. So, unfortunately, today is going to be a fake dab of the day. I'm going to fill the chamber with nice vapor, but because of the way I'm feeling, unfortunately, I really cannot take a hit. I apologize to all those of you who like to see me cough them out. Not on the agenda for a couple days. But here we go with our Faux. I can swoosh and enjoy my vapor. I just can't take it past my tongue. Thanks for joining me today, talking about how people talk too much and what we can do about it. A lot of people do it, and you know what? There's a lot of things you can do to stop or at least minimize verbal diarrhea. If you enjoyed this discussion, you know what to do. Have a great day, everybody, and thanks for joining The Real Senior Stoner. Cheers.